Hi everyone, welcome back to the Glow Code podcast. I usually record these episodes the week that I upload them, but I am recording this the week beforehand, exactly 1 week beforehand, because I'm still on a high from the event I went to last night. It was my first event being a guest local author for a book club. And I did do another author appearance a couple weeks ago, maybe like 3 weeks ago now at this point, which was more of like me and two other people were there, signing our books, selling them, and then the attendees were kind of doing their own thing and making flower crowns and things like that. But this was a book club meeting, so definitely a completely different vibe. And I loved it so much. So I'm going to give you guys all of the behind the scenes. And if you were at this book club meeting and I had the opportunity to meet you, I had such a blast with you. And this episode is going to give you a behind the scenes of just what was going on through my mind and throughout the day. So I want to start back in April. I was on the Threads app and I had seen that someone posted that they were looking for other people in our area who loved reading and loved books. So I connected with her through Threads and then on Instagram. And then I had seen that she was starting to create a book club, which was then when I saw another post of hers that she was wanting to find other authors in the area who wanted to partner up and do something for the book club. So then I sent her a DM and she was like, that's a great idea. We start chatting back and forth. And then we really started planning this in the summer. So just looking at different location options. We were trying to find something a little bit closer to where I live. I don't live too far away from where we had this meeting and where we ended up going, but that didn't work out for finding something closer. But this place that we did end up going to is so adorable, and it was actually the first time I went to an indie bookstore. Indie basically means independent, if you are unfamiliar with those terms. It was at Wren's Coffee House in Blackwood, New Jersey. Loved it there. They even had it all decorated for Halloween. So we planned that out. And then, what was I going to say? I was going to say something. I remember, and I actually brought this up at the book club meeting too, but for those of us who live in New Jersey, we are such a small state, and it kind of feels like we're separated in a way, because we have a lot of suburbs and residential areas around here, but we are sandwiched between New York City and Philadelphia. So we actually do have a lot going on in this state. We do have a lot of events and activities, and I didn't really realize how big the book community is here. So I just want to throw that in there. And then the day of comes around, and I already had my outfit planned out. I knew exactly what I wanted to wear. I wore this purple boat neck shirt, and it had 2 bows on the sides. It was sleeveless, so the bows were hanging on my shoulders. And then at the beginning of the day, I was like, I want to wear my new white capri pants. And I love white pants. I feel like they look so classy and so elegant. But then I put them on and I drove down to a family member's house who is on the way to Wren's. And also because I was like, I really don't want to hit a bunch of traffic later on, because we had the meeting in the evening. So once I got to my family member's house, I had my pink bag on me and my purse. But in this pink bag, like, I always carry extras of things. And part of me was like, I should really bring extra pants in case I want to change. Well, I did end up wanting to change, so I changed into these leggings that I have that look like jeans, and I'm so happy I did that because I was much more comfortable throughout the day. So I was chilling with my family. I went and got myself a muffin or two for lunch. I had like half of a chocolate chip muffin and then half of a pumpkin muffin. Had dinner with the family, put my makeup on. I have a very simple makeup routine. I really don't do a lot. I just use a multi-stick for blush. It's like this really pretty apricot color, which works really well with my olive skin. And then I do a gold highlighter. I do a little bit of eyeshadow. I like to do like an ivory colored shadow on my eyelids because it makes them pop. And then I'll blend it in with like a light brown. And then what else do I do? A little bit of concealer. And then I pop some lipstick on and I'm good to go. Although last night I also put the highlighter on my collarbone and that looked really pretty. So I did my little makeup routine. I was listening to ABBA and their songs because they always get me just very energized and hyped up. And then I was on my way to the book event. So I was driving down the road and there's only street parking for this place. And I am not the most skilled at parallel parking. So when I saw an empty space, I just like turned my wheel really hard and I probably shouldn't have done that. And I just pulled right in. And my car actually doesn't have a backup camera. So I'm like looking in the mirrors. I'm like, am I close enough to the curb? And there are like all these cars coming down the main road. And then I got it. We were okay. I didn't hit the curb. If you were at the book club meeting, I did mention that to a couple of people. I said I call my car Tank because he has been through a lot and he has hit a lot of curbs in his day. So many people call their cars a she. I call mine a he. I don't know. I just felt like Tank is like a sexy name and I feel comfortable now driving. I used to actually get really, really anxious when driving. So now I just feel very like held and protected by my car. So yeah, I parked and then I put on my little white heels that I have. I didn't drive in the heels because I don't feel comfortable driving in heels. I like to wear either flip-flops or boots or sneakers when I drive. I feel like when wearing a heel, it's just like, I don't know, I have to rely only one part of my foot. It feels like to hit the gas or the brake. So I put those heels on and that just made me feel really elevated. I think something that I've learned about my personal style is that I really love to opt for comfortable glamour. And I know those two words are kind of contradictory, but for example, I like to wear comfortable pants while wearing maybe a satin shirt or putting on a little bit of gold highlighter or a little bit of lipstick, some perfume. So really just combining feeling comfortable with looking pretty and feminine, which is something that I actually did for my wedding, which was almost a year ago now. So crazy. And to briefly tell you the story about that, or rather about my wedding dress, I had gone into David's bridal about a week after I got engaged. It might have actually been less than a week. Yeah, I think it was less than, or no, it had to have been at least a week. But anyway, it was very close to the time I got engaged. And I walked in and I was with my grandma. And I was like, I just want to look. I don't think I'm going to pick anything today. I just want to look around, see what I like. And the dress that I found was this comfortable glamour kind of dress that I'm talking about. So it was form-fitting but stretchy, which is amazing. I love anything that's stretchy because I'm like, okay, if I go out and I eat dinner and I have some dessert, I don't want to feel bloated and I want to feel comfortable. So I found this dress. It was the first dress that I tried on, and it had this V-neck with lace, and it looked really good around my curves, and it felt like I was wearing pajamas, but I looked glamorous and elegant. So I ended up buying that. It was actually only $179, believe it or not. It was on sale, and I did try on other wedding gowns, but I'm only 4'10", and it just did not look right in my little frame. So I guess it was fate that day because it truly was the perfect dress. Okay, back to the book club story. So I put my heels on and I go into Ren's, and basically it's separated between a little cafe area. So you can get coffee, tea, pastries, and then the other half was a bookstore. It was so cozy in there, very intimate, and there were chairs set up in rows, and then there was this cushioned orange chair up front underneath the Halloween decorations. And there were signs and a copy of my book, and I was going around introducing myself to everyone. I did have a bit of an awkward moment where I went to introduce myself to someone, and I didn't realize she had her hands full. Like, she had a coffee in one hand and then her car keys and phone in the other. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize your hands were full. But I just have this habit of, like, when I'm in a room with people, I need to go introduce myself, especially if I'm kind of at the center of whatever's going on. And I think that comes from my pageant days when I did pageants when I was 12 and 13 years old. We spent a lot of time practicing our introduction, our handshake, how we address a room, especially for the interview portion, which counted for a big percentage of our score. So we were learning about, like, posture, how to sit, how to stand, how to talk, how to, all the things. And I really feel like that stuck with me. So now when I'm in a situation like this, I just feel the need to personally introduce myself to everyone. I don't think I got to everyone. I really wanted to, but it was amazing to just be in the room with everyone and yap about the book, to be honest, because if I didn't feel passionate, I wouldn't have written 4 books in the series in under a year. So I got a lavender mint tea. I sat down, everybody got settled in, and we got right to Q&A. Q&A is my bread and butter. I love Q&A. I love answering questions. And I feel like it's a really great icebreaker too, instead of coming in with an introduction and trying to describe who I am and what I do when that actually means so many different things. So we just got right to Q&A. I think I answered maybe about 15 questions. Yeah, I feel like it was around 15 maybe. And I felt very present. I mentioned everything that I wanted to mention because there were parts of this book that did relate to my own personal journey. So I had the chance to talk about that. And a couple times I made everybody laugh, and I never thought myself to be like witty or funny or anything like that. And I think it was when I was being cheeky, and sometimes I would mention something about like spice or a sex scene, or I don't know, I just let myself be unfiltered, and unfiltered me is more silly and goofy. I don't get like fiery and raunchy, even though sometimes I do put that into my books. But in real life, I just get very like girly and silly. So when I was sitting there and they were laughing at different points, I was like, oh my God, they think I'm funny? And that was like a new self-image thing for me to look into, of like, oh, maybe I can utilize that silly and playful side of me a little bit more. And there were a couple of questions that really that stood out to me. They were my favorite because honestly, I think about them all the time. And I was like, I'm so happy these came up. So one of them was, who would you cast if your book was adapted into a movie? I love that one because I have a whole Pinterest board on that. So I was happy to have the chance to talk about that. What was the other one? There was a question. Oh, I think this was the last question of, what is the core message that you want people to take out of your book? And that was honestly a really great place to end the Q&A because I got a little motivational. I did get a little bit coachy. I definitely still do have that side of me, even though I may not be running a business around femininity or anything like that. Obviously, I have this podcast, so it's still in me. But I was explaining that I really want people to realize that they are more capable than they think. That was a theme that I weaved into the female main character's story. She started off feeling very frustrated, a little bit whiny, feeling down about life, and life just kind of sweeping her up and moving along. And she goes through so many trials and tribulations in such a short amount of time, and she moves through them with grace. And I explained that she doesn't become a better version of herself to prove herself to someone or because she is obligated to, but because she wants to do it for her. So we ended the night on that note. Well, we ended the Q&A part on that note. And then afterwards, I had the opportunity to sign a couple of books. And there were a couple of people that I spoke with where they mentioned that this was the first fantasy romance book that they read and that they loved it. So that was so much fun. And then there was another person I was talking to. And at first we were talking about Lana Del Rey because I put like 3 Lana Del Rey songs in my book playlist for Threads of Flames and Starlight. And yeah, she was like, I've never heard the first Lana Del Rey song that you put on there, which is Get Free. So we were kind of talking about that. And then she mentioned there was something I had mentioned about my own personal journey in the Q&A. And she had been through something similar, so we bonded over that and talking about how that theme that I also put in the book just really helped us to reconnect. So that was probably the highlight of my night. If you are listening to this, you truly made my night and just made me feel empowered in what I do and what I write and what I create. So big shout out to you. And then after that, I was just getting my things together. There was also a keychain station at the back where people could make like little keychains. And then I was coming towards the front of the bookstore section, and someone held up a sticker and they were like, look, it says hot girls hit curves, because I mentioned to them about like my whole parallel parking thing, and I just broke down laughing. So I just overall had the best time with everyone. We took a group picture, and I was gifted with a t-shirt and with cookies. These cookies are so freaking good, and they're all made with like symbols from the book. So there's one shaped like a potion, there's one with fairy wings, there's one with the actual cover of my book. And I was looking at them and I'm like, they're so pretty, I almost don't want to eat them, but they are delicious. I had a cookie, my husband had a cookie. We're like trying to savor them and not devour them all at once. And then after that, just got in the car, drove home, chilled, showered, and that was the day or the evening. I feel like it went by so quickly from my perspective now, but when I was in it, when I was in the Q&A, I just felt like I had all the time in the world. And that wraps it up. I am manifesting doing this again in the future. I really enjoy doing in-person connection. It's really great that we have technology to connect with each other online, and that certainly led to this opportunity and this event. But actually being able to be in the room with everyone and just talk and laugh is next level. So I'm really grateful for how the night went and just the overall process of it. I have no complaints at all. Everything went perfect. So that is today's episode, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you are listening to this and you attended the book club meeting, big shout out to you. You were fantastic and kind, and I appreciate it so much. All right, everyone, I will see you in the next episode.